Welcome to the Saturday, October 25th edition of 284 News. I am Jacqueline Donovan, bringing you the top stories from this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Talk show host KISHMA PENN is urging women across the territory to rally behind Jacqueline Vanterpool in her bid to become the BVI's first female commissioner of police. Speaking on Speak Out BVI, PENN said women have been too silent on the issue, despite VANTERPOOL'S strong performance as acting commissioner and public praise from as high as Governor Daniel Prus. Talk show host KISHMA PENN is calling on the women in the territory to stand up in support of Jacqueline Vanterpool to be Commissioner of Police. Vanterpool has been acting police commissioner for a number of months and has been congratulated at least once by the Governor Daniel Prus for doing a good job. Yet, she has not been given the official post. During the Speak Out BVI program, PENN said the women in the territory are too silent on this issue and they need to stand up for their own.
Y'all people don't ever defend no woman. I hang Cindy out to dry. I hang me out to dry. I hang a lady who's near and dear to my head, Sharon Flex, out to dry. And I think it's time we start to fight for one of we woman them. And if the man them ain't gonna be no help to us women in this country, remember, I'm gonna say it again, we outnumber the men in this country. And for once, we need to stand behind one of our females. We need to stand behind one of our women. You know, I ain't gonna say about, you know, we da hang them out to dry. We da constantly hang woman out to dry. We da wring them out like a towel and we da put them on a line to dry. And we da hang them there. And we da say, and when them get put out to dry like that, this sexist society, this patriarchal society that we belong to, the man them that sit down in the car and say grumble and say, yeah, good for she, then push she in a place. Then push she in a place. Ain't no place to be putting a woman in. This is 2025. What place I want to put us in still? What place I think we belong to? At this point in time, we as a people need to stand. If this is the commissioner of chief that we want for police, we need to be the chief of police, that we want for our people. Then we need to start making some demands. Again, I keep telling her, nothing gonna change if we don't demand it. I bet if the territory say, listen, we sick of her and her foolishness. This is one of ways we like her, we proud of her, we want her. Give her the job. I bet them man can't come with no reason why them can't give her the job. We don't stand up behind our people enough. So tonight, as the host of Speak Out BVI, as a public face, as somebody who holds a platform, I'm asking the people of the BVI, specifically the women of the BVI, to stand in solidarity with a woman for change. But I doubt it gonna happen. You know why? Because women in this country don't even defend women, much less for men.
PENN said she can see a lot of differences with Vanterpool at the helm, and she is calling on all the territory to stand in solidarity with her. PENN said it's time for the BVI to get its first female police commissioner.
I said to you guys, I need you to start paying attention. I beg you, please. I don't beg you for a lot, but I beg you to make some noise on behalf of Miss Jacqueline Vanterpool. She need it. She need us standing behind her in solidarity. The women need to stand behind her. The men need to stand behind her. The people need to stand behind her. She's a good woman. She's a good police. I can definitely see a difference in her at the helm as compared. I've spoken to her on a number of occasions about a lot of different things, and I'm telling you right now, because I know for a lot of years, that's a good woman. That's a good woman. That's a good woman to be the chief of all police. I don't know who else in the police force that envisioning right now, and I think it's time for us to start knocking down some barriers and getting our first. It's time for we to get our first chief of police. That's a female. our first commissioner of police that's a female. I mean, you know, we done had our first female attorney general. We done had our first female accountant general. We haven't had our first female premier, but we could get our first female commissioner of police. We could get her. We had our first female deputy governor as well, so we could get her. That is very possible. We don't have to make it seem like it's something so new and it's something so egregious. I think it's time that we, as again, I could only say, as women, we need to stand in solidarity to women. Sometimes we are the very reason why certain things going left, because we will bury another woman instead of standing in solidarity with her.
The BVI Financial Services Commission is warning the public against doing business with Port Economic BVI Limited, which it says is not licensed or regulated to conduct financial services in the territory. More in this report. A warning has been issued from the BVI Financial Services Commission, FSC, to the public about conducting business with Port Economic BVI Limited. The FSC says with this warning, it is seeking to protect customers, creditors, or persons who may have been solicited to conduct business by Port Economic BVI Limited, and to make the public aware that the person or entity has never been licensed or regulated by the FSC to carry on any type of financial services business. The regulatory body said that Port Economic BVI Limited is circulating a forged investment business license and is falsely purporting to be licensed and regulated by the FSC as an approved investment manager. Members of the public are being urged to exercise extreme caution if solicited at any time and to avoid conducting any business with Port Economic BVI Limited. The FSC is urging the public to provide them with any relevant information on any questionable entities which are purportedly operating in or from within the territory, and on any improper activities engaged in by such entities. And with that, we take a quick word from our sponsors. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
We mash the gas, them bite the dust. We set the speed while they gathering rust. Inside we heart BVI come first. So please don't be fooled, cause they not like us. Once we mash the gas, them bite the dust. Cause we always fast and we always fuss. If you want real speed, you know who to trust. Somebody better tell them they're not like who? They're not like us. CCT fast, like CCT fast, like CCT just generosity, love the community bad, like CCT fast with the 5G, cause BVI is we.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. We continue with news that residents of Anegada are voicing frustration over dock works by the BVI Ports Authority, claiming that they were not consulted before construction began on land that belongs to the people of Anegada. More in this report. Anegadians are again up in arms and are calling for them to be represented regarding the ongoing work at the Anegada dock by the BVI Ports Authority. The Anegadians say that work began on the ferry dock, which they were not informed about, especially as they own the lands, and the other issue being that there was no communication prior to the works being started. Former chairman of the Anegada Lands Advisory Committee, Mr. Daryl Ron Jr., said that when they reached out for information, none was forthcoming.
We have reached out to, I think he is the director, Mr. Pickering, of the BVI Port Authority several times through his personal correspondence to try to attain information, but through WhatsApp group message text, it was revealed that nobody knew. When we reached out to employees of BVI Ports Authority, they didn't know. When we reached out to our minister, which is a District 9 minister, Minister Honorable Vincent Wheatley, Honorable Wheatley wasn't informed of any developments taking place on the ferry dock. And this was all, he admitted to all of this yesterday in his apologies. And we feel it is a grave injustice and an insult to us because it took us making it public after 3 weeks of trying to correspond with you, explaining to you, hey, we don't agree with this, what's taking place here, and the attitude was like, look, we're doing this. But I would just like to note that when it comes to Anegada, the amount of situations the Anegadian to survive, it is very hard. It is very hard to be an Anegadian. We're all the way out there, removed from the other islands, and sometimes it seems as if we get overlooked, you know? And on a normal day, if an Anegadian chooses to go, hey, I want to expand my family, I want to go and build a house for myself so I can have a roof for my kids and my wife, and I go across the street on my family's land for 100 years, and I go and build my house. And then I go to water and sewage, which is under the Ministry of Communication and Works. And I say to them, hey, this is my home. I want to hook up a connection of water. Water and sewage is going to look me in my face and tell me, sorry, Mr. Ruwan, you do not have a block and a parcel. I can explain to them till my lungs collapse that, hey, my application is being held up with the ministry. I assure you, this is my land. They don't want to hear any excuses. I need a block and a parcel number in order to get basic necessities. Well, BVI Port Authority needs to work with that too. Work with your block and your parcel number. Why are you developing land in Anegada and you do not have a block and a parcel number? You're telling me, or you're the managing authority, you only authorized to manage what you own. You do not own anything on Anegada. So why are you doing this?
Meanwhile, the BVI Ports Authority issued a press release on Thursday, October 23rd, stating that it is taking strides to upgrade the Anegada Ferry Terminal facility for international arrivals and departures. The BVIPA said work commenced on the 5th of October 2025 to ensure compliance with international standards, and certain security upgrades would also be implemented. According to the BVI Ports Authority, these upgrades include a 40-foot container office strategically placed on the compound, which will accommodate customs, immigration, ferry agents, and the authority's staff. Additionally, it said that a covered waiting area and additional restrooms will be constructed, adding that to meet international standards, fencing is being installed along the main and secondary gate to control passenger access to the dock as required. The BVI Ports Authority notes that these improvements aim to provide a safer, more comfortable, and efficient terminal for all ferry passengers. It said further that works are expected to be completed by mid-November. However, Ron said this press release is a little too late and is insisting that the work in its current form be halted.
Is only because the information came out and the manner in which it came out to the point that government officials didn't even know what was taking place, to the point when they were called, and everybody is seeing the information that I posted in the chat groups and on Facebook. All of a sudden now you have to do damage control. You have to do PR. But I assure you, conversations were had with Mr. Pickering weeks in advance. This did not need to come to this. It did not need to come to a WhatsApp group chat. It did not need to come to Facebook, nor did it need to come to the point that you now have to put out a press release. You could have respected Anegadians just like you respect anybody else in the BVI, because we both know there is no way they would have do this in East End. They know better, but because Anegada is on the other side of God's face and you feel you're the big bad, you want to come and say, okay, I'm going to do what it is I want to do. And I don't even need to give you respect to tell you what it is you want to do, when the community already told you from 2022, when Ms. Maynard was in power. Ms. Maynard had a public consultation meeting with Anegadians and told us to our faces, Port does not own any land on Anegada, and we need so that the committee can give Port whatever lands they need, and the community could come and say, hey, what do you want your port to look like? Because we want to transform it into an international port. The very same thing you're doing now. So what happened for Ms. Maynard? No. We are not against the port becoming an international port. All we asking for is for you to come with different designs. Do not just come and seize this land and think because you feel this is the cheapest way to do it, this is what needs to be done. That is not the case, and I assure you that is not the case. So you mean to tell me for about 3 years, both had meeting with the committee for fun? Why were you meeting with the committee? We had structured meetings. We had meetings with surveyors coming over. We had representatives from port and Anegadian soil looking at different ways that we could put this port together, different avenues, and we've always told them the foundation for anything concerning this development is to have public consultation. We feel that you could do this. We have no problem if you want to do this. We have no problem if you want to do that. But before you start anything, give Anegadians the respect they deserve, and please have public consultation. Port, everybody would love that. But at the same breath of life, do it the right way. Come with a design. Come with a proper design. We literally told BVI Ports Authority, and let us be clear, there has not been a meeting that has been conducted between the Anegada Land Committee and the BVI Ports Authority that I wasn't present with. I am the former chairman, as I stated. So I don't understand how all this dialogue happened with me and all of a sudden I'm supposed to just sit back and watch this happen. No, that's not how it is. And there were many different proposals on the table. And we told them, look, this parking lot area, the parking lot in question, this is owned by the people. This is Anegada land. This is actually Anegada land. Over there, you see over there where you're putting your duck in the water, you're going to have to do something over there. That's all you own. And still this morning, instead of respecting the Anegadians, and I must commend them, in some magic wave of the wand, all of a sudden now, there's a meeting taking place for the public next week, Thursday. I think that would be about the 30th of October, on Anegada to discuss the issue. You had all of this could have been done in a matter of hours.
And with that, we take a quick break, but stay with us because there is more when we return.
As the winds start to whisper of approaching storms, it's time to safeguard your sanctuary.
Hey, have you checked your insurance policy lately?
Not recently, why?
It's very important to check your insurance policy before the hurricane season.
That's a good idea. I'll reach out to my provider and get some information.
Awesome. Come son, let's plan for emergencies together. We're gonna include your favorite comfort kit.
Thanks, Dad. That makes me feel safer.
We're packing extra medications and extra batteries for your hearing aid.
And by the way, don't forget my glasses.
Okay, Pops.
Alright, let me see. Okay.
What's going on, dog? What you saying? You good? You got truck? How you doing? I hear trimming some of the branches to make sure they don't cause a frig when the storm come.
Fair point. I gotta go clean out the gutter them down by me so nothing don't build up. You know how that could go sometimes.
Makes sense. That sounds good. We gotta be prepared.
Facts.
Sometimes we get off track, but that's okay.
Yeah, thanks for chilling with the dog today, you know.
Man, anytime, you know I got you.
Yeah, but the place so damn hot now. And you know the old people, them say when it's so hot, a storm somewhere out there coming.
Listen, I rebuke that in the name of great God of the universe, okay? Let me move these stuff so they don't cause a problem.
Alright, me and my neighbor window getting knocked out at all, Mr.
Remember, we're in this together. Reach out to your community, lend a hand, and shield each other from the storm's challenges. A message from the Department of Disaster Management and 284 Media.
Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. As part of Diplomatic Week 2025, leaders from the British Virgin Islands and Anguilla came together on Wednesday to discuss the growing importance of international engagement and self-advocacy for the overseas territories. More in this report. The evolving role of overseas territories in global diplomacy took center stage on Wednesday during a panel discussion titled Our Place in the World: The Evolving Diplomacy of the Overseas Territories, held as part of the Territories Diplomatic Week 2025. The panel featured Premier Dr. Natalia Wheatley and Premier of Anguilla, Cora Richardson Hodge, who shared insights on how small territories can navigate international relations and assert their presence on the global stage. Premier Wheatley emphasized the significance of building global networks, especially for small states like the British Virgin Islands. He pointed to climate change as a key example where international cooperation and advocacy are vital.
We have a responsibility to get together with other nations in the world who are also disproportionately negatively impacted by climate change and advocate for our own best interests and advocate to the very same nations who are the ones causing climate change. Advocate for things like climate justice. Advocate for things like climate finance for those who are whether experiencing loss or damage from these impacts. Advocating for finances to be able to adapt our territories to the impacts of climate change, or to be able to mitigate against the negative effects of climate change.
He also highlighted the importance of financial services and trade to the BVI economy, noting that the sector amounts for about 60% of government revenue and provides a substantial number of jobs. Premier Richardson Hodge echoed similar sentiments, stressing the need for self-advocacy and regional solidarity. Building on Wheatley's point about climate change, Richardson Hodge identified it as a shared challenge across the region, reinforcing the need for coordinated advocacy. She also reinforced the impact of Brexit, using the almost loss of Anguilla's access to St. Martin as an example of why proactive diplomacy is crucial for the territory's future.
Where not only the UK, but international organizations, other countries are able to look at Anguilla and say, well, look, these are the issues that concern Anguilla. These are the factors that we need to take into account. One of those, for instance, is in the case of Brexit. Many persons would recall when Brexit would have taken place, Anguilla had to advocate for its particular situation, wherein Anguilla is actually on the border of two European countries, French and Dutch St. Martin. And so as a result of the Brexit situation, there was a very real issue with regard to whether or not Anguilla will continue to be able to access St. Martin, because many persons in Anguilla shop in St. Martin. We travel internationally through St. Martin, the Dutch side. And so we had to advocate so that the UK government understood that that decision was done without consultation of the overseas territories, and those decisions had a negative impact. And so we had to come to the table in terms of how we were going to be able to maneuver. The other aspect with that as well would have been European Union funds that we would have benefited from. And as a result of that decision, those funds were no longer available to us. And so these are issues that have impacted Angola. So we see that the decisions that are made sometimes in the wider context do not take into consideration our small islands, us as overseas territories. And so we have to make our positions known and advocate for what is right for the people of our territories.
The IWIRC BVI chapter recently hosted its inaugural Chart Your Course Young Professionals Connect event, bringing together rising professionals for an evening of insight, inspiration, and connection. More in this report. The International Women's Insolvency and Restructuring Confederation, IWIRC BVI chapter, proudly hosted its inaugural Chart Your Course Young Professionals Connect, an inspiring event dedicated to empowering and connecting young professionals within the financial services industry. The event, held on Thursday, October 16th, brought together a dynamic audience of emerging and established professionals eager to learn, share, and build meaningful connections. The event's highlight was a captivating panel discussion led by 4 young leaders in the financial services sector. With moderation by Chastity Leonard and Shay Alexander, the discussion offered an authentic look into professional journeys of the panelists, from their early career beginnings to their current successes. Senior analyst at Chris Global, Shane Stout, stressed the importance of networking for young professionals.
To me, what would make you stand out is your willingness to network and have conversations with your future employers. And coming to an event like this, I might be your future person that gives my boss the heads up. Well, yes, I think this individual is a good individual. You should hire that individual. So going to university is important, but networking is also important too as well, because there you meet your future boss. You have Shamira says she had a friend that told her, why don't you apply to my firm? So it's very important we network and we get around one another. You find a good mentor. Your mentor could have someone who works in the industry as well and say, well, I have this individual. I know she's a hard worker and I recommend her for the position. So networking is very important and finding a good mentor.
The panelists acknowledged that it is not always easy to balance career and social or family life. However, they agreed that communication and a good support system is key to achieving success in both. Senior associate at Walker's, Renelle Benjamin, stressed that young people must learn to say no, even though it may be harder than it sounds.
For starters, it depends on the type of relationship. I mean, if it's a healthy work environment, then it will be much easier for you to be able to deflect the workload onto someone who, is more, adept in handling it where you cannot. So it wouldn't just be no, it would be, under the guise of, is there any scope for me to do this at a later time? Or is this pressingly, screamingly urgent that you need this right now? Most of the times, in my experience, anything that is past 5 o'clock is not pressingly urgent. Persons will make it seem like they need it. They need to get this document out. It need to get reviewed so we can get the go-ahead to file and serve, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You rush and you do it, and then, tomorrow morning it's still there. 12 o'clock is still there, So where's the urgency? So I think it depends on, if it's a healthy work environment, then you wouldn't have an issue with trying to deflect that workload off. So it's as long as there's scope for it to, be pushed off to a later time, then that is how the no will come across, rather than just, no, can we do this at a later time? If not, then you have to decide at that point in time whether, you're able to make the sacrifice, which I think most persons in this particular industry will make the sacrifice.
Chart Your Course, Young Professionals Connect was made possible through the generous support of sponsors Bedell Kristen and Walkers, whose contributions helped bring the event to life. And that's it for today's news roundup. Be sure to follow us for daily news updates at 284media.com, like us on Facebook at 284media, and 284BVI on Instagram and X, formerly Twitter. I am Jacqueline Wooding Donovan, and I will see you again next week. So have yourself a safe and enjoyable weekend. Goodbye.